Hi, and welcome to Prayers and Soaps. I'm Eric, joined once again by, oh my God, I can't even speak. Once again by Bevan, bringing you some
Hey
more
guys.
Dallas, season 4, episodes 21 to 23. Tommy of all the credits, and we'll chat. So this one is episode 21, New Beginnings. Um, this is Jim Davis's final appearance as Jock,
Yeah,
which I don't know why I thought he went into season 5, but
his character does, but he doesn't.
uh, he does not.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's his final appearance. He died April 26th, 1981, just 16 days after this episode aired, at
uh,
71 years old.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, pretty young. I forgot to look up why he died, but I could do that another time. And so in the beginning, Clint's wife calls for Sue Ellen. She wants to like meet up with her at some point.
yeah.
Um, Punk and Ray are going to do something together. I don't really quite understand what it is. It's businessy, and you know me in business. Uh,
Um, I honestly think it was just another land development deal. I don't think it's sort of super important. It's more about like
okay.
Ray trying to measure up. Because honestly, it didn't really come up heaps. You know, like I mean, yeah, it sort of comes up in this episode, obviously, but like it's sort of I think it's more of like setting the tone for Ray and Donna's like
Yeah,
dramas. You know, so
that's what I
like
was gonna say. Yeah.
yeah, I just didn't think it was super important because honestly I can't bloody remember him much about it. Like other than I'm
And
pretty
you,
sure.
and you just watched it.
Yeah, I watched it last night. Like I mean I was
Yeah,
a little bit late, but
I guess
it
be,
just
I guess be,
uh,
I guess because he went into the deal with Jock, so like I guess he feels like Ray knows what he's doing now, but Ray has still kind of no idea.
Ray just wants to sort of like measure up because he's like a Ewing now, blah blah blah, and all
Mm,
that sort of jazz. It's more about that, I think, because I'm fairly certain that Punk is just sort of hits him up for a meeting, and I think a later scene they have lunch, and he's sort of just saying, "Hey, you can make your money back pretty swiftly on this, but you'll need like $3 million investment or whatever. You'll go over that,
yeah,
obviously, but yeah,
yeah. Um, so, um, yeah, so Jock's away with Miss Ellie. They reunited or reconciled, whatever, and went on a second honeymoon, they said.
yeah."
And did we see Jock in the beginning? I think Jock was seen in the beginning, but like real quick.
Briefly, I think, because like I honestly, I sort of just I didn't even really remember that he appeared in this episode because they were gone the whole like it just wasn't a factor, you know. But yeah,
Yeah,
that and then they sort of
he had to
fill in
be, I guess.
scenes. Well, yeah, but then like they fill in scenes just sort of with Miss Ellie for the rest of the season, at least as far as Jock and her go.
Right.
Yeah,
So Pam and Cliff talk about Rebecca. He wants nothing to do with
yeah,
her mama, their mama.
yeah.
Donna confronts JR about setting Ray up for the Lubbock project, which I guess he knew he wasn't like capable of doing. I don't really know what the Lubbock project is. I don't think they go into
Well,
it.
I'd say it's just JR basically being like, you're Ewing now, and he's trying to like do what he did with Gary. He's just doing what he did with Gary.
You're right, yeah. Pressure
Yeah,
him until he
yeah,
breaks.
pretty much.
Makes
He
sense.
doesn't even. I don't even think he's at a point yet where he thinks that Bobby can even hack it. He doesn't come to that until later. You know.
Yeah. I like Bobby and Pam finally are getting along pretty well. Because she's like, "Oh, I want you to meet my mom and have dinner together." And he's like, "Oh, well, I have a Senate meeting, but I'll cancel it." I'm like, "Yeah, like you should have done all the other BS things that you had before."
Well, like I'm not gonna lie. I mean, being a senator is kind of a big deal, but still, I get what you mean. But being a senator is actually a big deal. Like,
It is. That's why it is a big deal, but it's a big deal for him to break it for Pam, his wife,
yeah, yeah. Like it's
where he
yeah.
could have
Well,
broken a lot of other things in the past for his wife. but he did
That's
none
true
of
because he
them.
broke he what he was breaking a lot of his promises was more when he was at Ewing Oil rather than when he was a senator. So that's a good point to make actually. So yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Leslie and Wendell talk about JR and changing the Ewing oil campaign. She's not really given anything to him yet. He's like, we have some common interests, whatever. So they're just kind of getting to feel each other out, kind of.
So outside of like Leslie using sexuality like as the way she does, like that she's able to sort of get her information, she's very like uses those classic sort of movie slash TV versions of like feminine wiles and all that. Her and
Hmm.
Jeremy Wendell as people, I find, are very similar though. Like, so she's very sensual and sexual, and he's very well, like I always find Wendell to be very sexless in a show like this. You
Yeah.
know, like he's very like straight to the point, and it's not really about much else. He's and
The
yet
first,
he's still quite. He's not a
the
shallow
first,
character.
the first signs of him like showing any interest was when he had interest in Sue Ellen, and it's like
Mm.
season 11.
Yeah, he sort of flirts.
It's like really far.
Friggin', I forgot all about that. He does flirt with Sue Ellen, doesn't he? He
And
does.
she flirts back. Yeah,
She
they
does.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I forgot about that. No, because I always really loved Jeremy Wendell as the big sort of like multinational sort of corporate villain, you know.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but for a
Me
show
too.
that like does arguably portray a lot of sex in it, like granted it's not like explicit, but for a show that is largely quite sexual, he is very sexless. So like and it's just a interesting like opposition between him and Leslie because obviously she's very sexual, you know? Like she uses
Right,
that to
right.
manipulate the dudes around her. So
Hmm.
yeah, I enjoyed these scenes. I enjoyed Leslie a lot more this season than I have in the past.
Yeah, she's great. That actress is great, Susan Flannery, of course.
Of course, of course.
Um, Mitch offers a little getaway for Lucy. I forget where they want to go. He says like there's a free place they can go stay or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. It's because she's been
They're
working, and yeah, he wants to spend time with her because they've been growing apart, and yada yada yada.
they're extremely backburnered in these 3 episodes. Like
They are, they
to a
are.
degree where you almost forget about them. Like it's pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, when I was
I
like
don't even think they were
I
in
was
the finale.
I was going over things in my head for like for this episode and everything like that. With regards to quite a few of the characters, like a few things that I wanted to mention about Sue Ellen or JR or blah blah blah. And
Right.
I actually had to sit there and think, I'm like, what the hell happened to Mitch and Lucy? Like,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah,
Right.
no, they are quite backburnt in this, in my opinion, as well.
So Clint's wife and Sue Ellen meet up for lunch or whatever, and they talk. Her name's Alicia, but sometimes he calls her Alicia, so I don't know her name. Alicia,
I'm gonna
I
say
guess. I don't.
Alicia. I'm gonna say
Is it
Alicia.
Alicia?
As in, like,
All right.
yeah, yeah. Let's
They
just go
say it
Alicia
different. Some
because
of them say it
Alicia.
different though.
I'm sure Alicia, the name Alicia is pronounced that way with some poor souls, but I feel
Right.
like even the way that that's spelt is still Alicia.
Right.
You
It
know, like
is.
the
You're
I
right.
would make the E sound. You know what I mean? It doesn't. Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
me. I would still assume Alicia or like Elisha. Like what the hell? Like
This is quite sad actually for me. Like she knows about the affair. She doesn't want to cause Clint any pain, which is crazy to me because I'm like I'd cause him a lot of pain if I knew about the affair. Um, and Sue Ellen's like, how do you live with that? Like knowing that your husband's cheating. And she's just like, I love him. And you're just like, damn.
Alicia. Alicia is the type. See, what I like about Dallas is like, of course, you get all the outrage and the cheating and blah 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 and all that, but you do have these like beautifully sort of poignant little moments in the series. This
Right.
woman, she doesn't hurt in a vindictive way, and like not every like we see all because of social media and everything, and because of the way bloody people are. They all think that they're a Sue Ellen or a JR in their soap opera. Like, oh, I'm just season 5 right now, I'm going through a rough time. Like it's like real life is a TV show. But like,
Right.
it sort of drives me nuts a bit, to be honest. But anyway, side point. I digress. No, but Alicia hurts passively. She hurts, and the only way in the way she deals with her hurt is still by caring and looking after him. And that is sad because she is incredibly loyal. That's a beautiful thing to be with someone. Like
Yeah.
I can't relate to that. So like,
I I know, right? Same.
well, it's not even that. Like, I could possibly relate to not being vindictive about it. Like, I
Right.
not. So obviously, you'd be angry. I'm talking about being vindictive about it, like the way Sue and JR are. You know, like, but I can understand being non-vindictive about it, but I can't understand still being in love with them. You
Well,
know,
it definitely guilts Sue Ellen though, because
uh, it
she's
does,
pretty
but I
much
also
done.
yeah, but I also think it gives Sue Ellen some perspective. She doesn't love Clint like that, and she's never loved JR like that.
Right.
And so someone like her, in a terrible way, like that someone like her would hurt someone like Clint, you know?
Yeah.
Um, because he does love her. Like it's and she doesn't love him. And like
Yeah.
and I think of Sue Ellen from like season two, when she just started stepping out on JR and all that. I think Sue Ellen from season two might have settled, but I think she's just at a place where she's not okay with that. And I think she thought she was okay with it, but then she gets hit with this reality of this woman, and this woman isn't doing what she expected her to do because this
Right.
woman isn't doing what she would do, you know?
Right. Right.
And so I don't think Sue Ellen gains perspective outside of herself for a lot. Like it's all linked to like her, like her issues and everything. But I don't think
Right.
Sue Ellen gains a perspective outside of herself for quite a long while.
Yeah. So Afton and Cliff meet up at the bar. I guess that she sings at.
Yeah,
And then they basically go to his place and bang already.
yeah.
But I mean, they did meet a few other times before they did, so it's
Well,
kind of
let's
like
be
they were
honest.
dating.
It's not like Cliff. Well, they were talking at the bar. I mean, but like, let's be honest. It's not like Cliff and Afton both aren't easy on some level, Like,
Yeah. Yeah, right.
but I actually did like. I hated that I liked them together, but like, obviously, we'll get to it as it goes on. But like, Cliff is
Yeah.
awful to her sometimes. Like, just says awful things to her.
Yeah. I
God,
know.
he's a train wreck. I mean,
I know. He
I
really
like,
is.
but I like Cliff, but he's a oh, sorry, he's a goddamn train wreck. Like,
I know. He is. It's a sin. So JR tells Leslie he is suing Sue Ellen for divorce. They kiss, and basically she kicks him out, and she has Greg in her bedroom, who I
yeah,
is her ex? Is that her ex, or that is the
one
other
of them.
guy?
It's
I
one
don't
of
know.
them. It was like so.
I lost
I
track.
think no, I think in the last few episodes that we did, he came back into town and he's like asking her questions and like quizzing her and stuff, like joking because he already knows what she's about. So like,
Right.
yeah, I'm fairly certain that that is her ex-husband. I'm fairly certain it's the same man.
Okay.
And
I
he
couldn't
even
tell the
jokes.
difference between that guy and the other guy. They kind of look the same.
I
He
mean, they
has a
both had
type.
that. Yeah, they both had that like grey hair that sort of swept to the side, and like
Right.
they were both in suits, so like they have that
They
'80s
all
suit. Yeah,
they both seem like JR types, kind of.
like they had that older '80s man on TV vibe.
Yeah. So JR seems to be playing games with Wendell already, going back on his word. Basically cancels the merge that he was all about in the previous episodes.
To be fair, I find Jeremy Wendell's outrage over this to be stupid. Like he's like,
Why? JR,
because
well, this is what Wendell is though. He's like, this is business. Like you're screwing with my business. You wanted to merge, now you're pulling back on the deal. Like it could have been
yeah, I
for
get
him.
that, but like
It's
have
a
some sort of
power.
I get it, but it's like have realistic expectations for your deal. So like, come on, it's like Jr. was like Jr. came to him like in a hurry and everything. Like I just don't see it. Don't get me wrong. I understand like why he's pissed off about it and like why he's got the shits essentially. But to actually like hold like a grudge over it, like come on, it's his family business, bro. You're working for Westar. You ain't own nothing in that company. I mean, sure, you own shares and stuff, but it's a
Right.
multinational. It's not independently owned or anything. You know what I mean? Like you're just the figurehead. He actually his family owns this business. Like it's
Yeah.
different. So I just thought, don't get me wrong, like I get why he's annoyed, but like I just
Yeah.
thought actually holding a grudge over it was a little unrealistic. But obviously in line
Um,
with the soapy, but I was just like, come on, man, settle down.
I
Like
don't think necessarily it's a grudge. I just think like he's
turned into
like,
one.
well, I'll just destroy you then if you're not gonna pull
Yeah,
through with what
I
you
was gonna say
said.
it turns into one. It
Because
very much
because
turns into one.
in Wendell's head though, you
Yeah,
gotta be a man, you gotta be a man of your word. Like and
yeah,
you're and JR basically begged him to set
that's
that up.
true. Yeah, no, yeah, fair enough. No, he did,
And
and he
and
begged him
Wendell
in
didn't
a way
even
where
want
he was.
to. Wendell didn't
Yeah,
even want to.
yeah, and he did actually work
So
a way to secure his leadership of the Ewing Oil division or whatever as well. Like JR was still
mhm,
essentially going to run the. Yeah, yeah, that's true enough. But
right.
even so,
So
it's a bit.
that's why he's pissed. Like it would have been one thing, if it was just like, oh, okay, he probably would have went his merry way. But since it happened the way it did, yeah, I can
Yeah,
see
I
why.
suppose. I suppose. Anyway,
I'd want revenge.
yeah,
But dude, wait, we'll talk about that later. Bobby and Donna talk about Ray. He's in too deep with his project. She's getting worried about it. Pam tells Rebecca about her two miscarriages. They talk about her possibly going back to the doctor again and getting checked out, seeing if she can have babies, whatever.
mm,
Sue Ellen meets with Clint. Um, he tries to give her a ring, and he says he was going to divorce Alicia tonight, like, or I guess tell her about it. And she's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
"No, I don't want you to do that. No." So they're basically ended, I think, here, right?
yeah. I don't think he's even
Basically,
appears afterwards.
no, she like breaks up with him pretty much.
Yeah,
Sorry, pal, you're out. Sue Ellen tells Pam that John Ross is the only thing that makes her happy, and she is really sorry that she didn't have a baby of her own. These are
I
the
like
scenes
that
that
scene.
yeah, these are the scenes
Yeah,
that really start their friendship and
yeah.
basically that they're truly family,
Yeah,
in my
especially
opinion.
after end season. I'd actually forgotten a lot about that little tidbit, but her and Pam are like
Hmm.
that after
Hmm.
end of season 4. I forgot about all that.
But JR and Pam are like,
I
nah.
mean, they already were, but now it's just
Yeah, now it's to a degree of brutal.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Jeremy talks to Dave to get Cliff anything he needs to destroy Ewing Oil. Dave
yeah,
is that
yeah.
dude, the random dude.
Yeah,
Christopher
so Dave
Stone.
obviously, well, it makes sense that he would know Wendell if he's like this international sort of like under the counter broker type dude who's like funneling money for like corporations and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, this is another
Yeah.
time where I'm like, JR, aren't you being naive when you think that he's going to destroy everything, like just in case? Like, come on,
Right.
like anything that will get himself and you implicated out, like, but if he's implicated it's not going to be a thing, like
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but in that,
And
because yeah, the situation
I'm
arose and yeah, he's dubbing him in.
I'm sure you like the Sue Ellen and JR scenes where I forgot they actually bonded before things get worse.
Yeah,
Um, they're talking about how much they loved each other or care, what they liked about each other first. She's like, I liked your eyes. It hid secrets. I'm like, yeah, okay, it sure does.
so i find that like I find that the dynamics kind of similar, but she doesn't sort of take his bait and she just keeps talking to him. It's like the one
Right.
time that she doesn't really take his bait because she's like, oh, it was your eyes, and he's like, really? I thought it was my money. And then she's just like, well, she sort of reminds him. She's like, well, Jr. There are a lot of suitors that I had at the time that had money, you know.
But
And was it she went into some dude about who was like family in mining and everything like that. I'm like, mining, like mining. mining incorporates a broad thing, a category of things. I mean, like, and
Right.
what if it was like, you know, and what if they were like illegal mines, like in that, like that African blood diamond bull, like they'd be
Right.
sitting pretty, and so it's just like, oh, I'll just go for an oil man, like,
But I think they have a real connection in this scene because in the next
yeah.
part when Kristen calls, it all turns bye bye.
Well, I
Because
think that's
like
the
what is
reminder, isn't it?
I forget what he said. Oh, he said he was at the beauty contest or whatever, and everybody looked like basically hoes, but she looked like a sexy, almost like a sexy like a lady or something like that. And I was like, what is wrong
I
with
like the way JR is about it because he is very sort of like usually descriptive and stuff. He's very formulaic about it. He says something along because I've always really liked this scene,
him?
but I like it in a different way now. I like it because like it's those moments where like even with like you got like their history obviously they know each other well, but they don't really like each other, but they did care about each other, and they're just
Yeah,
having this moment of reflection. It's just a moment of reflection, and she says to him at the end. So what does he say? He says, "Every after a while, it all starts to remind him of like a cattle auction, the way people kind of like sell their image on there, and like the way the girls sort of try and stand there looking pretty and sexy and all that." And he said
yeah,
that she stood there not doing anything and looking sexier than all of them, and more so that she also looked like a lady. The way he says it, I don't it's this weird distinction that he makes between like that she can be a lady and be sexy. And I thought, I don't know why, but it's always struck me as really sweet, like old-timey sweet almost, where
it is in its
in a
own
way where
way.
in a way in which encapsulates, I guess, probably not as broad as obviously the human condition is, but
Right.
encapsulates how a woman can be sexy as well as a lady, like like the as well as a respectable lady. And the way Sue Ellen presents herself when you think of like a lady in Dallas, you think the way Sue Ellen presents herself, like Miss Texas Belle,
Right, right.
and all that. So like I don't know, I've always really liked that scene because JR's basically a giant whore, and the way he
Right.
speaks, I think the way he speaks and the way Hagman delivers it is like he's actually just kind of falling into the memory a bit, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then she asks, why couldn't it work out, JR? Why didn't it work out? Like, why couldn't it be like it was all those years? And then we get the phone call of Kristen having her
Right.
baby, and we get those, and suddenly even the audience feels it. All the reminders come back, and this is why it doesn't work, Sue Ellen. Like, this is why.
JR,
Yeah,
you have another son.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that's the
And
end of that nice moment for a long time.
yeah, and I think that's what it is. I think the moment is a moment where these two characters get a bit carried away in the moment, and they sort of reflecting on memories and being sweet, and then suddenly reality crashes in, and
Right.
that's really kind of like a good example of how they are as a couple. It's all very passionate whirlwind, and then reality sets in, and it's fucking awful.
Right.
Yeah.
So in episode 22 called Full Circle,
Yep.
Lucy says she will cancel the trip. So I guess like a trip came along, like so I guess they didn't get away in the last one.
Yeah, so I assume that like work came up because I'm pretty sure it's like briefly mentioned or something like that in the prior episode, and that
Yeah, it
she
must
was
have been
going
it.
to make sure that she could like work it out or something like that. But yeah, obviously she couldn't get out of it, so here we are.
And she says, I'll cancel the trip if you want. And he's like, it's up to you. I'm not going to do that. You make the
Yeah.
decision. And she's like, well, sorry. Gotta go.
Mm.
Um, what's it? Oh, sorry. Um, Sue Ellen is not pleased about Kristen calling, of course. Dave talks to Cliff about the counter revolution. Um, says, uh, oh, what is it? What is it called? Weststar? Weststar?
Oh, West. Oh, Jeremy went. Yeah, Westar.
Weststar. That. Westar will show him gratitude and basically hire him and set him up in a nice office if he, I guess, takes down JR with the counter revolution shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Pam
Sweetening the
wants
pot because he wants Cliff to take him out.
Pam wants to feed John Ross. I guess she's getting like needing for
Clucky.
that baby again.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're getting all clucky again.
Jeremy and Leslie do lunch, and he wants to know more about the counter revolution. She doesn't really give anything up yet. She's still on JR's team as of now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Like 10
Don,
minutes.
yeah,
10 minutes of
Donna inter
airtime, anyways.
yeah, right. Yeah. Donna interrupts Ray's meeting. She has to go to Washington to help Culver, Sam Culver, whatever. Pam and Bobby talk. He reads a postcard from Luke. I thought this kid was long gone. I didn't even know that there was a mention this far down the line from him about him
Yeah, I
again.
didn't remember this either.
That goes back to like the early season two, I think, when they first were
So,
talking about having a baby. Um, JR talks to a lawyer about how to get custody of his son. Um, and he said something like, if she takes my kid, I'll kill her. I don't know why you would say
yeah,
that in front of a lawyer, but I mean, I
well,
guess
it's not
because
like
he's
the
a good
lawyer can.
lawyer.
It's not like the lawyer can only really say something, can't he, if he actually thinks that she's in danger. There's not really the way JR says it, I guess, like arguably, blah blah blah. But I think the
Right.
only thing to take away from that is that the lawyer sort of says, well, they usually rule with the mother unless like she's obviously like severely unfit, like if she abandoned him or something, and obviously JR's not knows that she's not going to do that. But I just think it's important to like set that there because JR does start scheming legally and all that sort of stuff. I mean, fairly soon in the series. Like I know it's towards the end of the
Yeah.
season, and technically there would have been a gap, but like it's fairly soon that he starts scheming.
JR tells Leslie that he doesn't want her to have lunch with Jeremy again. I guess if you're on my side, stay on my side. Dave tells JR that Cliff has nothing on him because he's just kind of keeping him at bay. Pam goes to Cliff and goes off on him about Rebecca. Um, she's just having a fit because she wants a baby again and she's just going off on everybody, it feels
No,
like.
didn't she actually find out her results at this point?
Yes,
Or- Yeah, so like she's found out that like she can't have kids, and she's just come in and like served Cliff over
she's like,
rejecting their mother.
Rebecca's the only mother we have, and
I can't have
we're
kids.
blood, and
It's too
right,
dangerous for you to have children. Like, get a grip, mate.
yeah. And he looks
I
sad
do like
about
that
it,
scene.
and
No,
he
no, no.
calls Rebecca.
He does. But what I like about these scenes is even that whole scene is her just storming in and yelling at him.
Yeah,
Like it's like I do like the scenes where Cliff and Pam do kind of act like brother and sister. Like
yeah,
he's not being an absolute dick because he's just properly it's not just like her coming in and yelling at him because he's being stupid. He like actually screws with her life because of his
right,
vendettas.
right.
And yeah, there's still these great little scenes where she's just had enough of her personal life. He doesn't want to listen because she goes there to talk to him originally about her own fertility issues, and then
Hmm.
he wants to be all business related, and she's just like, oh god, and
Yeah,
she just yells
yeah,
at him and storms out. But like the most of that scene is Victoria Principal yelling at Ken. So yeah,
yeah. We
it's
find
pretty
out
great.
a doctor told Pam that she can't carry a baby past 3 months.
Yeah,
Apparently.
yeah.
I don't know why. I don't remember if she really explained it, but
It
um,
was something to do. It was something to do with a an actual congenital thing or something like, or at least maybe not congenital. Beg your pardon. But like something an actual problem with her. And the reason why they didn't detect it earlier is because of the way she lost both prior babies. There was like
yeah, yeah,
outside influence, but they don't
probably
think that she would have
damage.
been. Yeah, and yeah, so she fell both times, so it complicated things. It would
Yeah.
obviously seem like the miscarriage would be that, but she likely wouldn't have carried them past 3 months.
Lucy calls Mitch and says she wants to stay one more day, and he's like, "Well, you can stay for a week for all I care," and hangs up on her.
pretty much.
Rebecca goes to Cliff's. Um, he kind of goes off on her. It was really this scene makes me tear up. Um, like Rebecca, he goes off on her like, and basically just drives her to leave. And then like as she's leaving, he's like, I was only 5. You didn't take, and then he said something like, you didn't take any licorice with you. I remember
Yeah,
you liked it.
yeah. I think
It
what
still
the
chokes me up even talking about it, like, because it was
I
such a good
actually
acting scene for him.
It is. I actually think I I don't know, like it's like this really big sort of build up because Cliff's like that as a character, and Ken plays him quite like that. Even in prior scenes, like even when he talks about it with Pam, you can see that he just doesn't want to deal with it, and
Right.
Ken just shuts it down just in the way he plays the scene, and he just does it so well. So you can tell that there's this build up, and so he
Mm.
finally gets all this anger out that he's had since he's friggin' a young boy,
5 years
and
old.
yeah, and and growing up with Digger wouldn't have been easy. And
And she
what
did
sets
abandon him.
yes,
Really.
she
I mean,
completely did.
she really
I
doesn't
think
have a
what
good excuse.
no, not really. And I think
She could
what
have
gets
fought
me
for them.
more so, yeah. I mean, like, especially after she married the husband that she got, like it's when he was already of money, so when she was established, he seemed like a good man. She could have, but admittedly, she does say flat out that it's not the right thing and that she was scared. Like, it's not an excuse; it's just the reasons. Like
Yeah.
I don't really feel like Rebecca made necessarily excuses. She gave reasons,
No, yeah. I
and
mean, I understand, but at the same time, 2 young kids having to deal with that their whole lives is pretty brutal as well.
the thing is sometimes that's like I know this sounds really terrible, but like I like scenes where they're able to sort of reflect a reality that some people just make bad choices. But in
Right.
this instance, Pam and Cliff are at least able to, and her are actually at least able to come back from it. But all I was going to say about this is that Ken Kershaw or Coachella, sets up the scene so
Kercheval's
well.
right.
And yeah, and he gets all that anger out. And then I don't
Yeah.
know, for me, the bit that I don't know, like I've always found it really sweet as well as like the way she turns and she looks at him and the way she
Hmm.
smiles at him and embraces him. It's just sets it off for me. It just completes the scene perfectly.
Yeah.
Like it's like he gets out all this anger and then almost for like a second when they embrace for a few seconds, all's forgiven. you know
Yeah.
and it was
But
very
yeah.
sweet. They both did so well in that scene,
And then the next scene is Kristen Shepherd making a reservation or checking into a hotel or something.
doing the dramatic foot to head shot as she walks into the hotel.
Shepherd, Kristen Shepherd.
Yeah,
Cliff goes to the Senate about with the info that he has on JR.
yeah,
Cliff and Bobby talk. He goes off on him. Um, Kristen calls someone to meet up with. Mitch confides in his friend. I forget her name. Jeannie. Jean.
I can't
I think
remember at
Jean.
the moment
I
either.
think it's Jean.
It's something.
Um,
Yeah,
but she's actually I feel like showing interest a little bit now
at
because of
this
like the
point, yeah,
look she gave.
yeah.
And she does it. She's like, I don't want to talk about Lucy. I don't want to talk about marriage. Let's just
I got
talk
that
about
vibe too.
science. Yeah.
Mm,
JR and Sue Ellen talk. He's trying to push her away. Ellie calls, um, just to check in. Did you notice Ellie screams like on the phone? I'm like, girl. She's like, JR, is that you? I'm like, you're sitting in a hotel on a phone. Like, what's your problem? Like,
in
you're
like
at a
in like
payphone.
in like in like where are they in France or something? Is it Paris
I
or
think
something like that?
I think they're in Paris. I think. I can't
Yeah, I'm
remember.
like that's like one of the most famous cities in the world that has full electricity and like
Right.
is connected. I suppose though, I mean long distance. Did they have the? So I know that when I was younger, in Australia, we had the little doot, 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 doot when it was long distance just between
Hmm.
states. So I imagine it would be similar internationally. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know. Um, Lucy comes home. Jean is still there from the night before, but it looks like Jean slept in their room and he slept on the sofa. Like it doesn't even
Yeah,
look
yeah.
like anything serious. he's like, there's nothing sexual going on. And they basically fight, and she's like, I'm going
Yeah.
home to South Fork, which is just
He's like,
silly. I'm like,
bullshit.
yeah, whatever. So, and I think that's the last we see of her, actually, which is
I
funny
think it
because
is.
she's supposed to be going home to South Fork, but she I guess she don't get there
Yeah. I
because
guess like
she could have been involved in that finale though. Like I don't understand why they wouldn't have written
she
something
could
for
have
her
at
in
least
that.
made an appearance.
Right, like I'm home or
Hey
something. I don't know.
guys. Oh well.
I know. So somebody, a mysterious person, comes in a limo as Sue Ellen is walking, and roll down the window. It's Dusty, my man.
Woo-hoo!
Um, he has crutches now, like these weird, not normal crutches, the ones with the arm things. I don't know what they're called. I don't think they're exactly crutches, but
It reminds me of like the polio crutches that you see.
yeah, it is. I mean,
Is
it's
that
like
that is
for
them?
it's
It is them.
yeah,
I
it's
shouldn't
for
laugh. It's
like
terrible.
th- th- so regular crutches are like if it's not as serious, just like if you have a broken leg. But those crutches are like because they hold your arms are more serious because that means
Oh,
y-
so that's like
he
for
could
like
probably
everyday.
fall.
Okay, so it's like for more like because it'll be like everyday use.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, well that would make sense. It would make sense why they look like the sort of old polio ones.
yeah, and they still actually I think have those ones too, as far as
I
I
know I
know.
sound really terrible saying it like that, but I've only ever seen them with things like that in movies and stuff like that,
Right, right.
or
Same. I
like
don't see
yeah,
him too often in person.
yeah,
Um, and he talks about spending her life with him, and they want to be together. Blah blah blah. Same as before, but now he wants to be in it because he can walk. Maybe his
yeah.
van's
Well,
working again. I don't think he really says, but
yeah, he sort of says that he didn't think his life was worth living and like all that, and some operation he wasn't sure if it was going to work, and so he didn't want her
yeah,
to like stick around under basically like not a guarantee.
yeah. Bobby confronts JR about what Cliff had against him. Of course, JR doesn't know yet.
Yeah, and he plays it off as
Um,
he usually does.
yeah, he's like, you ain't got nothing on me. Nothing will happen. Don't worry about it. Cliff tells Afton he's going to break JR. Um, I don't even know what that means, what I said after that. It says cover up. I don't know what I mean. Um,
Uh, um, is this when Cliff leaks it to the press?
maybe.
I think because he leaks it, and I think that that's
Probably,
what
yeah,
gets
because
them. Yeah, because that's what spurns on the inquest.
yeah,
Because
because
it's
Ellie
like
calls again in the next episode about it.
yeah, yeah. So I think that that was more about him talking about leaking it so that people will have to look into it, essentially.
That it was a cover up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the next day. Leslie sees the paper. She calls Jeremy to have a meeting with him because now she's like,
And
maybe I'm not on the
Cliff,
right side.
I think at that point, Cliff can't outright accuse him because it's not enough to actually, I can't remember exactly, but the
Yeah.
leaking it to the press allows the accusation without it being legal.
JR calls Hank. He says, "What are you doing down there? Get your shit together."
Yeah. And
He
he's like,
just
oh, I'm
takes
just like giving this all to Jeremy Window. No, he doesn't say that, but yeah.
no. Kristen meets with Jordan Lee about his son and that she wants more money. And I feel like we weren't positive that they slept together. It alluded to that, but we like never seen them kissing or any of that stuff.
And now we know that they obviously did because he believes her.
Yeah. We really don't know I don't, at this point who the daddy is. Um,
Well, no, I think that that's what it's designed to do. It's like the audience thought it was JR's, but now with
now they
Jordan
think it's
Lee, it's
Jordan
like,
Lee.
oh, and then we see her talking, we hear her talking to someone else on the phone about getting money and shit. So
Yeah,
it's like he could be the dad. You know what I mean? So there's at
right.
least two characters that we know, and some off-screen dude scheming with her.
And he basically warns her, like, you better leave before JR sees her in town because JR is the one that sent her out of town in the first place.
Yeah,
And then we have the season 4 finale, episode 23, Ewing Gate. Ellie calls about the newspaper, counter-revolution. She's of course going to keep it from Jock because that's what they do. They don't tell each other anything. Ah. Anyway, Dusty, Sue Ellen, and Clayton discuss on how she can get John Ross away from South Fork. Try to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
JR meets JR meets with one of the Senate guys. I didn't catch his name. To see what they have on him. He says he really can't help them, and he basically is like, well, when it comes to voting, I can't help you either, basically.
Yeah.
Um, JR calls Luella, and he wants him to find Claude Brown because I guess Claude Brown is the man that can actually take him down or help um, get him put in prison or whatever the situation is. To get him out of the country. Um, and she gets a subpoena right after that. Phyllis tells Sue Ellen about what's going on in the office when Sue Ellen has calls for JR. And we find out that JR is in Austin. I'm always wondering how JR is everywhere in this episode. I feel like there's three of them. Like he's in every scene. He's in Austin, and the next minute he's home, and like it's just crazy to me. I don't know how close Austin is.
I mean, it
A
wouldn't be a long
helicopter ride,
flight.
maybe?
It couldn't be a long flight. It
It's
couldn't be a
probably just
long
a
flight.
helicopter ride, like how they fly in and out of where Sue Ellen is at one point.
I mean, maybe, but isn't Austin and Dallas their own sort of big cities? I'd imagine he'd probably
They,
fly in, wouldn't he?
yeah, I would think so. Oh, like fly? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Anyway.
how far it is, but anyway, yeah, he's in Austin. So they said, let's put our plan in motion. She's like, I can get the John Ross out tonight. Blah blah blah. Jeremy and Leslie meet up. She says she got something that he wants, and she will work for him. Basically, um, be on his side in
Mm.
whatever he needs. Finally,
Yeah.
Sue Ellen comes down with John Ross, and JR is there with a cop. So I
Yeah.
guess we're supposed to think these are different parts of the day because how would he get home that fast? Like, because he
I'd
was in
say so. I
Austin.
mean, yeah, because I'd say so, dude.
Yeah. She threatens him. Pam witnesses it. She tells him off. You make me sick, which was a really good scene. And because
It
he's
is.
like, don't get involved, Pamela.
Yeah, don't get involved.
Stay out of
She's
my
just,
marriage.
yeah, Sue Ellen's just a, was it, he ends up making a remark about Sue Ellen being a drunk or something, just like her mother, like a drunken slut or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then she's just like, you slime.
Yeah, he's I love that. He gets called everything in this. I feel like they set him up to get murdered every season,
Yeah.
basically. Because there's about three people that want him dead right now, or mad at him at least. Kristen goes to JR. She wants more money, so she's trying to get money out of Jordan Lee. She's trying to get more money out of JR. He says fine, and that she said she'll call him whenever she wants because she doesn't trust, if he gets a hold of her, then he'll drag her out of town again.
Yeah.
This is where the $3 million thing comes in. Punk compliments Ray, and he wants him to buy a point from each of the guys involved, which is which will end up costing $3 million.
Yeah.
Ray's like, gotta think about this. He tries calling Donna in Washington, but she's not
Yeah.
there. So, but Donna's so smart, like ridiculous, like smart to a fault, because he calls for the $3 million. I guess he calls their bank or whatever, gets the 3 million, and right away, like she gets a call wherever
Mm.
she's at. Like I guess she just walked in, and
Yeah.
it's like the bank saying, "Hey, we're about to sign 3 million," and she lets it go. I'm
She
like,
does. But
what would you do? I would be like, no, and call
she
his
has,
ass.
it's not about that. She has the money. It's not that. It's she's
I know,
surprised. She's worried about what he's using it for. It's more like, okay, it's like a big purchase for Ray. You know what I mean? Like, what is
right?
he? Yeah.
But wouldn't you be like, how about you put that money on hold and I'm gonna give my husband a call? That's what I would do. Not it's $3 million. Like I don't care if you have 25 million, whatever millions you got. That's $3 million, and you don't know what it's for, and you're approving it without even knowing. Like, girl,
Well, she
crazy.
trusts him. Like she does trust him.
Yeah, I guess. I guess.
I know. I
Um,
don't live in that world of trust either. I know that sort of trust is foreign to I as well.
they're way too early in their relationship, even though I mean they just got married this season. Did they get married? They did get married, right? But they didn't show it, I don't think.
No, it was done quickly. It was like a scene.
Yeah, that's kind of disappointing. They
They
really
went. I
like I
think
don't
they just went to the justice of the peace or something.
yeah, I think so.
Anyway,
Yeah, so she okays the money, whatever. I totally forgot that Afton drug Cliff. And I'm like, wow. So yeah, JR gets Afton to drug Cliff so he can sneak in his apartment and look all around for what he has.
and switch out
Um,
evidence and change figures.
yeah, and they just like take pictures of the papers and all that stuff. Marilee Stone is at the hearing. She has to testify. Jordan has to testify. Claude gets called, and Claude is there. Uh-oh. Um, and he says how the money, wait, all the money was used for the revolution. I think he says, um, Leslie releases the audio tape that we finally get one of them in play. And she's been
Yeah,
recording like every conversation she had with JR because she's smart. Um, JR wants to testify and explain the money in the tapes. He said he lied to Leslie, blah, blah, blah. And then he has the ambassador to what I forget what the country is. It's Southeast Asia, I
I can't
think.
remember.
The ambassador takes the stand, who is James Hong, who was in
Yes,
everything. You recognize him,
yeah,
right?
everything.
Everything. He has like his credits are like 400. It's not like it's insane. Like if you look him up on
It's
IMDb,
ridiculous.
it's
There's
insane.
so much voice work. There's voice work in games, animation.
Uh-huh.
There's old sort of your classic old sort of crime films from America. You've got Asian films like and then you've got
Most
every like so many modern films where he's older, like he's an older man. Because like
yeah,
I personally don't remember a time where he doesn't look old in stuff. He just looks varying shades of grey. You know, like
yeah, I know.
um
He
yeah,
was
like
in he was in Falcon Crest. He was the guy that helped with Julia and all that.
man, he's in
Um,
Milan.
yeah, he was most recently. He's in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
He's in that movie too. I'm like, this man just doesn't stop. It's crazy.
yeah.
Amazing actor. Anywho, he takes the stand. He says exactly what every penny of that money is for. Goes through everything because JR knows because he took pictures of all the crap. How like this is what gets me like the time frame one. It's got to be at least a week, like going on in one episode because like it's impossible to get all of this stuff done in 40 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever it is.
Well, yeah, it would be over
Um,
like a couple of days and stuff.
like he'd have to have somebody scanning the paper. Like there's no way you can like figure all of this stuff out to arrange all of this for your trial.
It's
Um,
not a trial.
or whatever it is, the
It's a
hearing
hearing.
of some sort. Yeah,
It's to see if
hearing.
there's enough evidence to even charge him with anything.
Right. And of course JR wins and they can't charge him. So yay. Um, Bobby tells Cliff to meet him at South Fork so they can talk because Cliff's pissed. He thinks Bobby has something to do with it. He's about to like report Bobby to the police or something.
Yeah,
He's like, all right. But he respects Bobby enough to like meet with him and hear him out
and
at
to hear
least,
him out. Yeah,
which is shocking because Cliff, doesn't always do that for everyone.
no,
Um, and guess who gets fired?
yeah, because Luella didn't
Luella.
get in time.
She didn't get rid of Claude, and he's like, sorry, girl. But he's gonna write her letter of recommendation. It's
Oh, he's gonna sign the nice one that she writes for herself.
And then who comes? I think Sloane comes soon, right? Yeah,
Sly,
I think. A
isn't
Sly,
Sly?
Sly.
Yeah, yeah.
Who's Sloane? I just
I don't
created a
know.
new character. Anyway,
Yeah,
um, Kristen comes back. JR is like, no, I'm not gonna give you any money. Get the hell out of Dallas. Blah blah blah. And then she looks a little worried now.
yeah.
Um, I don't know how she doesn't know that this man always wins. Like, Stupid. Whatever. She gets hers very soon. So Ellen goes to Pam, tells her that she's with Dusty, and asks for her help. JR goes to Leslie, and he still wants her. She's like, she's not even surprised. She's just the way Leslie is just calm, cool, and collected. She's just like, I'm surprised you won. I tried to turn on you, and you still won. Like whatever. And they finally bang, even though they don't show it, but they did.
And then
And
casually joke about how it wasn't worth the wait.
yeah, yeah, that was funny. Um, Leslie calls Jeremy. I don't think we know what happens though. That's just like kind of the
I
end.
think she's
I
just
don't.
the end of it. She's just, she's not really relevant to the story anymore. She's going to go do her own thing. I imagine she's
Yeah,
probably
I
just
don't.
working at West Star here and there for some of their projects, yada, yada, yada. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think we see her again, right? I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Um, JR looks for John Ross. He gets home and John Ross isn't there. The guard outside says, "Oh, Mrs. Ewing took him." He's like, "Mrs. Ewing, she's not supposed to be here." He's like, "Pam." Like,
Mm.
I guess he didn't think Pam and Sue Ellen were that close for him. Like, he probably just underestimated that situation. I guess because they never really talk in front of him, like as their friends, but whatever.
I mean, what the hell's a
Um,
security guard? The security guard's not supposed to know all about their personal dramas. Jeez.
yeah, but they're trying to find out. What is he going to do? He's just standing out there looking like a fool. Um, but so Cliff goes to South Fork. We see someone floating in the pool. He jumps in, I guess to save this woman, head down,
Mm.
and looks up and sees JR, and he's like, "She's dead, you bastard," and that's it.
Yeah.
And JR is like up on the deck, just like drinking a cocktail. I'm like, now,
Well, he walks out on the balcony because you hear the door close and the steps, and then they look up and he's standing there.
and Lucy is not there, and
No.
she was supposed to go back in the previous episode. I'm like, Lucy could have been a part of this mess. Like, they could have made it a little bit more dramatic somehow.
Yeah, but like in the end though,
Yeah.
they sort of had the body in the pool, and they sort of leave it as a mystery as to who's actually in the pool. And I do know that for the season 5 opener, they did film multiple characters, multiple cast members in the pool with Cliff.
Did they? Did they? I
Yeah,
didn't know
like on
that.
the so on the DVD of season
I have to
5
look.
on the inside there's an image of Cliff in the pool, and it's Sue Ellen. It's clearly Linda Gray in the image, but I'm obviously she's not the one that
Oh,
passes
wow.
away in that part.
Right, right. Wow, I didn't know that. I guess I
It would
never
it would
watched
have just
my
it would
features.
have just been like what they did for Who Shot JR, where they filmed multiple people doing it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
heard about
because this
that,
is
but I never
because
knew about that though.
because this is kind of like a who's in the pool, because they don't show you who's in the pool. They just show it's a woman, and when he turns her
Right.
around, the image is only from like neck down, and
Yeah.
it's really quick, and it zooms in on Ken. And so they
Yeah.
don't actually reveal the face, obviously, until next episode in the season 5 opener. But yeah,
So how do you feel about the season as a whole, as season 4?
I actually thought I enjoyed it a bit more than I remember enjoying it, because I feel like season 5 is where it starts to pick up again. But I enjoyed it as kind of like a starter season for or like a good sort of like setup season for longer running stories. So in the earlier ones, we get these sort of early character development, or the early beginnings of certain things like the JR Llewellyn love hate thing and blah blah blah, things that would
Yeah.
become iconic to the franchise and to the series in terms of like relationships and super couples and villains and blah blah blah. But I always find that 5 and 6 is where Dallas kind of really hits its stride. I know they always talk about like Who Shot JR being awesome. I think that's like when people really started watching it. I think the writing
Okay.
was great from like season 5 to like I'd say arguably up to about season 8, but season 8 drags out a little bit with a few things, and we'll go into that, like that goddamn murder trial. Oh my god! But
Yeah.
that just drags the hell out for
I love
just
um I love
no
season
reason.
10 I think is really good too. for the most
Mm.
part. It has some issues, but that's a good season.
I just
But
remember thinking 5, 6, 7, and then 8 kind of being the sort of end of that sort of consistent, like, like where it's just there's not really any proper drag. All the plots are really good. The
right,
characters really sort of obviously the actors are already quite set in the roles by this season, but I just mean like they just really become those larger than life characters in the next
yeah.
season, or start to in the next season, in my opinion.
I like because I forget everything. I always forget like how Miss Ellie would come back and like is Jock still away? Like I forget like all
He
of this
is.
stuff.
He's away, and he's doing
So
another.
he's
I
just
think it's because he's doing another deal with Punk, and that's when he's down in South
yeah.
America, and he stays in
Oh,
South America until they write him out.
yeah. I think he does ultimately die on a plane ride. I think that's where they kill him
Supposed
off.
to be coming home, and he dies.
Yeah.
And
But
then,
I don't think they find his body, which is why we get a storyline in the far future,
well,
with the
yeah,
possibility of him coming back. I
which
like that storyline.
no,
I like that guy.
no, they already screwed up with doing a dream season. They don't need to create those sort of convoluted ones. Like Dallas, that's better for something like Dynasty or even Falcon Crest. Like I just think
I
that
like that
Dallas.
stuff.
I don't like. I don't like. I don't know.
I like when it because it gave Miss Ellie some good material, and I like that. I didn't think it was
They could have
too
done that if they
convoluted.
just stopped writing her like an old woman all the time. Like, I know that she's like the matriarch, but she's not dead. Jesus.
Right.
You know, like especially after her husband actually dies. How long does it take for her and to get her next husband? Like years.
Yeah, yeah,
And I actually realized that would probably have a lot to do with the fans. The fans probably like. I feel like shows are a bit like that at times, where like if there's that dynamic, like Miss Ellie would have basically had to have been this lonely woman to,
yeah,
and mourning her husband for the rest of the series. Like he's not in it from like from their perspective, the character's perspective. He's not in it from season 5 to the rest of the show. So like,
right.
I don't know. Like I'm glad that they actually wrote her a love interest eventually, but I just think it
Yeah,
took.
yeah. It does. Yeah, it's true.
Although I do like
Um,
her, I do like the way she grieves, her grieving storyline, where it sort of happens
mhm.
and then things just continue to play out, kind of. And she says bits and pieces here and there, and then she actually just melts down, and that's kind of how it is, where you kind of go about your life because life goes on. And then you have this moment where you just have a meltdown.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, obviously we'll get to that. But yeah,
Yeah, soon enough.
yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks for joining us with on Queers and Soaps today with Dallas wrapping up season 4. We'll bring you some season 5 soon, and have a good one, everyone. Follow us on socials and whatnot. Bye bye.
Bye.